All brothers remove the head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered, and we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharah, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for allowing us to come before you, Yahweh, on this day, on your Shabbat, to show you our sign of obedience, Yahweh, to show you that you are our Elohim and we are your children, Yahweh. Yahweh, we humbly come before you and we ask and we pray and we supplicate that you allow your angel.
Audio, brother.
Is that picking it up?
Yeah. Hold on.
Unmuted.
We ask that you allow your angel that sits at the door knock to come and sup with us and us with him, Yah, so your name could be here on these grounds, giving us that Kodesh Mikra that you commanded us, Yahweh. For we truly have faith and we believe that in your scriptures where you said that you would provide a little sanctuary for us, Yahweh, no matter where we would be spread about, Yahweh, and scattered. So Yahweh, we come and we ask that you allow your spirit of understanding to reside with us, Yahweh, as we delve into our priestly responsibilities as servants, Yahweh, unto you, so we can rightly divide these scriptures and get into your Kodesh calendar, Yahweh, so we can have a clear understanding of when your year starts, when your months start, Yahweh, and when your holy days begin, Yah. For we understand that you commanded and you ordained, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, Yah. So we ask for your mercy and your guidance and for your Ruach HaKodesh, Yahweh, to guide us and show us the truth, Yah. We also humbly come before you and we ask, Yahweh, that you allow a spirit of healing and rest to reside with your servants, Yahweh, that are across the four corners of the earth that are suffering, Yahweh, from illnesses of this world as well as illnesses of stress, Yahweh. And we ask that you increase our faith, Yahweh, to allow us to deal with these things and increase our ability to heal. For we understand that sin causes death, Yahweh, and righteousness and obedience to your scripture, Yahweh, is health to our bones and marrow to our bones, Yahweh. So we ask that you increase our capabilities, Yahweh, to serve you. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you and we thank and we pray, not only for us, but for all your children across the four corners of the earth that gather on this day, Yahweh, your seventh day, to show you your sign of obedience. Yah, these things we thank and pray through Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. Right? You got to be able to go between.
The thing about the app is that I should have brought the other phone. The thing about the app is that if I'm off of it for too long, it might just drop.
Okay. All right. We're going to go on the speakerphone then. Cut that off. You can stay on, but just mute that. You got off? Okay. But just leave it off speakerphone, that's fine. Right. And put it on mute. All right.
Welcome. Provided by freeconferencecall.com. Recording has started.
All right. Again, T-Mobile hit us with the curveball. They have removed the backup line, which makes it difficult for T-Mobile and MetroPCS viewers and listeners to participate. So the workaround to that is to get the freeconferencecall.com app, which will allow you to be able to utilize that. So again, if you are having difficulties getting on, use the T-Mobile, the freeconferencecall.com application, which is a free download that allows you to do that. All right.
What is he saying? Was it?
Same life, so.
All right.
Seeing it live.
Unless you want to stop and restart it. Shabbat shalom, sis. I wish I had brought the other phone. I usually had it, but I was playing some beats off of it.
We can get that going.
Hello.
Hey, Teddy.
Shabbat shalom, sis.
Shabbat shalom. Good.
Good. So this is picking up the
Yeah,
calls.
that's-
Okay. All right. So
All right. Shabbat shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharov, my brother Y'ahNatan Yasharov. And the title of today's Shabbat study is the Kodesh Calendar. The Kodesh Calendar, which is the holy calendar. We had, these past little pagan weeks, they had their New Year's and Xmas or Christmasing or Christmas or whatever they call it. And they observe their things according to their calendar. Today we're going to focus on Yah's order and how he set the calendar system up, the creator of all things, how he organized the calendar and gave us a way for us to utilize his servants to calculate these things. The sun, moon, and stars and the host of heaven and all those things are also servants, as well as the earth is a servant to the Most High. So we're going to get in that, use the scriptures and use the Sefer writings, and we're going to use all the resources that we have to get in here and see when do we start a year and how do we start months, so that we can get into eventually learning how to calculate the holy days, Yah's days. So we're going to open up first in Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're just going to read verses 1 through 6. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 1 through 6. And before we get started, if you have access to a calendar, a Gregorian calendar, something that you could utilize to, look at the days of 2017 so that we can work together and learn how to calculate the months. So we're starting in Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 1 through 6.
Observe the month Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, by night. You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place which Yahweh shall choose to place his name there. You shall eat no leavened bread with it 7 days. Shall you eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction? For you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life.
All right, so it starts in verse 1 saying, observe the month of Abib. Observe the month of Abib. And in Torah, there's only one name given for a month, and that's Abib. Abib is the first month of the year, and it's the only year that is given an actual name. All other names was given by man. You had Abib, then you had second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, and so forth and so on, till you came back down to Abib. That is a sanctification. You only have one day that was given a name, the Sabbath day. Everything else was given a number. So that's sanctification. So you sanctify something, you pull something out, and you compare everything else to that day, or to that one sanctified period. So it's talking about observing this month of Abib, and then it's talking about, well, how you observe it. First, you got to know when Abib starts, and then it starts going into the Passover unto Yahweh and giving you instructions about that, letting you know when the month of Abib is. The month of Abib is not in the wintertime. We're saying, well, make sure that you bring your animals indoors because it's cold. It doesn't give you all that. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with you in all your coasts 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh which you sacrifice the first day at even remain all night until the morning.
Okay, so now it's talking about unleavened bread. There's another witness letting you know when is the period of time where it is unlawful for you to have anything with leaven in it for 7 days straight. That's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So it's another witness letting you know how to observe this month Abib and when this month Abib is. Go ahead.
You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, but at the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to place his name, in there you shall sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast.
All right, so there's the instructions for Passover, and it's talking about not the sacrifices of Passover, killing the lamb, this so forth and so on. And we know that with Yeshua's perfect sacrifice opened up this grace period where we no longer have to die for sin right away. We don't need to shed blood for sin right away. We have a grace and a covering through an atonement through the most high Son, Yeshua, which is able to speak up for us and cover us during this period of time while we try to get ourselves together to avoid this sin. So again, Abib. Now, understanding Abib, you have to understand that Abib is the first month of the year. So let's go to a further witness in Shemot, Exodus, and we're staying in the first 5 books of Torah. We're staying in what they call the scripture, the first 5 books. So Exodus chapter 12, Shemot chapter 12. And we're going to get another witness that Passover happens during this first month. And it says to observe that month. That month was given a name, Abib. So Shemot, Exodus chapter 12. And again, the title of today's Shabbat study is the Kodesh calendar, the holy calendar. We're going to hopefully, Yah's will, by the end of this class, we'll have at least a decent understanding how to calculate this calendar, how to calculate your months, how to know when the year starts. And all that is important because you need to know how to calculate these holy days. That was the whole reason we were freed out of Mizraim, out of Egypt, so we can go worship Yahweh in the wilderness. So why would he free us out of this captivity if we don't know how to worship him and keep his days? If we can't keep his order and letting it be done on earth as it is in heaven according to his schedule, not what's convenient to us or what's tradition or what everybody else is doing. So we're in Exodus, Shema, chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Yasharal, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb.
All right, so you taking a lamb. People could eat lamb any day of the year. So that doesn't really tell you anything. But it says this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. So Yah is telling you specifically what month is supposed to be the beginning of months to you. And then in this month, it's talking about taking a lamb. Now, that's not really specific enough because you could take a lamb. They did sacrifices with lamb all throughout the year. So it doesn't give you a specifics. But as we keep reading further, we're going to get that haymaker truth where there's no denying what month they're talking about. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening.
All right, it says kill it in the evening. If you look at the Hebrew word there, for in the evening, it's between the evenings. So as we, Yah's will go get closer to Passover and we start going over that, we'll further explain that because that is a gross mistranslation of causing confusion when they say kill it in the evening when the Hebrew word bain meant between the evenings. Now, to the 14th day. Now, if you don't understand what happens on the 14th day of the first month, then this doesn't make any sense to you. But the 14th day of the first month is Pesach, is Passover. So there's a third witness again, just from those scriptures that we read, that the first month has Passover. The first month is called Abib. Abib is the beginning of months to you. So now we have clarification in Torah without going to prophets, without going to Sefer writings, without going to anything else, but just in these first 5 books, we can see that the beginning of months is Abib. It is Passover, happens during that month, and it is in the springtime if you understand when Passover happens. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And they shall take the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs shall they eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. Thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste, and it is Yahweh's Passover.
All right. Furthermore, it lets you know it's Yahweh's Passover. Sister, you want that the white chair? You want the white chair for your back? Okay. Shabbat shalom. All right. So you see here, this is the beginning of months, and in this beginning of months is Passover. So it's letting you know. So now we're going to go into the Sefer writings. We're going to go into the Book of Jubilees, which they call the little Genesis, the little Exodus, but the little Genesis, where it's like the beginning, and it's showing you further instruction of how to calculate the month. When does the month start? How does the calendar work? And you can see these writings were all included together in the scriptures in ancient times. But when they developed this King James Version Bible, which we still use, the Romans are the ones that were over handling this type of situation. So obviously they removed certain things that would go against their pagan teachings. They removed certain things that would cause confusion with the way that they were trying to assimilate people with this new world order of this Christianity religion that they were creating by grabbing from other different belief systems. So we're going to get into Jubilees chapter 1. And again, if you don't have access to Jubilees, you can always go to IsraeliteGathering.com and go into the books and Bible section, and you'll be able to see Jubilees and download versions of it or read it online. So I'm going to put this up on a big screen. And people will reject these Sefer writings because a lot of them are still stuck in that Greek mind frame that, you know what, the Romans said this is the Bible. First of all, Bible comes from biblios. That's not even a Hebrew word. There's a council of people that came together and decided what you should know, what was available to you. And they pulled out certain things, but where they didn't have a holy Bible like this that they said, okay, we're going to translate that. No, they decided, okay, we're going to use this, we're going to use this, we're going to use that, we're not going to use that. And then furthermore, a few hundred years later or a few years later, they decided, you know, we're going to take even more books out. So you can't allow another culture to dictate and tell you what you should know and what you shouldn't when you were given the Holy Spirit and you were given Torah to use as your basic guide to confirm through second and third witnesses is what am I reading? Is this aligned with Torah or is it against Torah? And you find out any contradiction that you may think you find. If you get into the Hebrew, you see that the contradiction was in the translation, not in what the actual Hebrew words were. So we're in Jubilees chapter 1. Is that up there? All right. Let me blow it up a little bit. Jubilees chapter 1, and we're going to start this at verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Yasharal out of Mitzrayim, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give you 2 tables of stone of the Torah and of the commandment which I have written, that you may teach them. And Moshe went up into the mount of Yahweh, and the splendor of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and appeared, and the appearance of the splendor of Yahweh was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moshe was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights, and Yahweh taught him the earlier and the latter history of the division of the days of the Torah and of the testimony.
All right, so Yahweh gave Moshe a breakdown and a confirmation of how do you calculate these days? How is the month broken down? What are the order of days and what is to happen in the future? So he gave him the law, he gave him the testimony, and he gave him the division of all the days. So it wasn't just, these are the commandments, this is all you're going to get. He gave him 10 commandments. There was more information that he was given. He was also given history. He was given the history of things that happened before him. That's how Moshe wasn't around with Adam and Eve. How was he going to be able to give this type of information? He was given all these things. And notice it talked about that when he was on Mount Sinai, it was a midst of a cloud. It was like flaming fire on the top of the mount. Well, you have the modern day Mount Sinai that they have in what? They have in Egypt now?
I have no idea.
The modern day Mount Sinai that they call Mount Sinai is in Egypt. But here, the real Mount Sinai, which archaeologists have discovered but haven't really been able to put out there is in where it says Mount Sinai is when you go in the scriptures in Arabia, Saudi Arabia. So when you go there, you see that Mount Sinai, which is called Mount Jabal Laws, which, interesting enough, the mountain of laws. That mountain there, if you go to the top of the mountain, you can see that it's different color than the rest of the mountain. The rest of the mountain has a certain color, reddish stone to it. But then when you get to the top of the mountain, all of a sudden it's like a bluish, black color, as if there was some kind of fire up there. Almost like if a volcanic eruption happened or a fire from above came down and scorched the top. So you can see the evidence of the history that's in this book. You can find it this day. And interestingly enough, if you try to go to Mount Jabal Laws, you're going to see a big fence around it. They won't even let you get near it because they understand that this is historical. They want to preserve that, but they also don't want you to discover that. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And he said, incline your heart to every word which I shall speak to you on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and you for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions. And they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And do you write for yourself all these words which I declare unto you this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiff neck, before I bring them into the land of which I swore to their fathers, to Abraham and to Yitzchak and to Jacob, saying, unto your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will eat and be satisfied. And they will turn to strange gods, to gods which cannot deliver them from any of their tribulation. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them. And they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods. And these will prove unto them an offense, and a tribulation, and an affliction, and a snare.
So you can see here, Yahweh already knew the nature of man, the nature of Yasharal. He's not talking about what Gentiles going to do. He's talking about his own chosen people. But he's still saying, Moshe, go down here and deliver this law to them. Tell them this way of life. Regardless, I know they're not going to listen. I know there's only going to be a certain remnant that's going to pick up on this. But he also says what's going to happen in the end as well. They're going to realize that Yah's ways are righteous above their own ways. That's mercy. That's a credible amount of grace to say, listen, I'm going to tell you the right thing to do. I know you're not going to listen. What we'll say is, look, I know that brother ain't going to listen to me. I ain't going to say nothing. But Yahweh said this is also supposed to be a testimony against them. So we have to understand when we speak these words of righteousness to people, it ain't always that they're going to repent. Sometimes it's going to be a testimony against them. And what we hope is that they will receive that testimony in the flesh when they're alive and able to repent and say, wow, this word is a testimony against me. I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm doing this. Man, Yah's ways is righteous. Let me change the way I'm doing things while I'm still alive. Isn't that what Josiah did? The king, when they stumbled upon the book of the law and the priest brought it to him, he said he put on sackcloth and ashes in it, said, man, we've been doing wrong. He realized his ways were not right according to Yah. So we still have to give that opportunity to people and tell them this truth and let Yah do what it do. We plant seeds and we water. Yah adds the increase. So we can't take it personal when people don't want to hear what we have to say. And we can't force this on anybody, but we have to give them the opportunity. That's true mercy and grace.
Allah, Yah.
Go ahead, Yah.
And many will perish, and they will be taken.
You have some, Elder?
I just wanted to add, that was very profound because our people, some know and some don't know. Some have a little knowledge and know that these past holidays were really not real, but yet they do them anyway. It's just that they don't realize how deep that rabbit hole goes, you know. And what you just read, it tells you that our people, what it does is, in the book that people usually have at their house, the King James Version, it tells you about how stiff-necked and childish our people are. So hard-headed and stupid, that tells you again right there in Jubilees, our people are hard-headed and stiff-necked, and it also prophesied how our people will start, worshiping other gods, and will not follow Yahweh. And so when they did that Santa Claus business, that they held their Christmas trees and just then held their New Year's, when we know it's not New Year's, and we just basically read that in our Torah, it's talking about March, April. They don't know that they're worshiping another god. They worship Janus, the two-headed god of their prophecy. You know what I mean, of the past and their future. So this is what Yahweh is talking about. He just prophesied that our people will do these things and worship these other elves. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront in case people don't understand the comparison of what Yahweh just said from Jubilees and in our Torah in the King James Version.
Right, brother. And, it is an incredible mercy that Yah allowed us to have some sort of understanding with this because, many of our forefathers didn't have a clue about this stuff. They didn't even, they served as what they thought was upstanding, lovers of the Most High and as what they call Christians this day, and believed that Christmas was about Christ and Thanksgiving, we should be thankful for the Most High and all these different things. And they lived that life and never had an opportunity to be exposed to their own culture. They just believed that they were a people that had no nationality, no culture. They were just slaves. They had no idea. They knew they came from a continent of Africa, but that's a whole continent. How many different countries and nationalities in that one continent? So it is a tremendous blessing. And then if you have this understanding and this is presented to you, it is your responsibility to study this, to get into this, to understand it the best you can so you can spread that. That's the whole reason it was given unto you. So you can make the changes in your life and so that you can spread it with your brother and sister so they had the same opportunity that you had to hear this truth. Go ahead, Op.
Verse 10. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commandments, and the festivals of my covenant, and my Shabbats, and my Kodesh place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, and my tabernacle and my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself in the midst of the land, that I should set my name upon it, and that I should dwell there.
So it's already, he's prophesying from Moshe's time, when people are just coming out of captivity, that they gonna profane my commandments, my festivals, my covenant, my Shabbat, and when they get into my holy place, they gonna profane my holy place. They hallowed for himself, that he decided to put his own What does a king do? A king builds a castle and he takes his servants and he puts his servants in his castle, in his holy habitation. That's his glory. He put that there. But he's already talking about this, the people that I should set my name upon it. Not only the land, but the people as well. That's who he put his name on. Not just the land, but the people. So he knows all of this, and he's talking about how we're going to go into captivity because of all of these things. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And they will make to themselves high places and groves and graven images, and they will worship, each his own graven image, so as to go astray, and they will sacrifice their children to demons and to all the works of the error of their hearts.
That's what you're doing with Santa Claus. When you taking a God in Satan, changing it up, calling him Santa instead of Satan, giving him abilities that he doesn't have to know when you've been naughty or nice, and he flies above the sky like the Most High, and he gives gifts to those that are good. Good according to what? I never heard Santa Claus say, man, you know what? You kept these commandments. Here, get a gift. Nah, you've been good. Good according to whose standard? And then you turn around and you lie to your children and you teach them to lie. And when your children find out the truth, you say, shh, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing to your little brothers and your little sisters. Keep the lie going. This is what we are reinforcing our children. We are sacrificing our children to demons when we take our children and raise them up in any kind of lie. It don't just have to be Santa Claus. It could be anything. When you lie to your children and you teach them to lie, you sacrificing them to demons. A lying spirit is a demon. A demon is just an evil spirit. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And I will send witnesses unto them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear. And they will slay the witnesses also. And they will persecute those who seek the Torah. And they will abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes.
So they're going to slay the witnesses, which were the prophets, all the people that saw, that received the vision from the Most High and were spoken to directly from the Most High. They're going to slay all of them. And then on top of that, they're going to persecute those who seek the law. Everybody who wants to walk in righteousness, they're going to persecute them. And this persecution doesn't have to be just in a legal system. Persecute you when they call you a cult member. You a cult member. You actually trying to follow this book that we walk around with and say that we follow. You're in a cult. You're in a cult of actually keeping the truth. That's a cult that you're in. And they persecute you or they separate themselves from you. And we feel like, okay, well, these people don't want to be around me. That's not a bad thing. Now, when people that are walking according to this word don't want to be around you, that's a bad thing. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And I will hide my face from them, and I will deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles for captivity, and for a prey, and for devouring. And I will remove them from the midst of the land, and I will scatter them amongst the Gentiles.
I will scatter them amongst the Goyim, amongst the nations. Who else has been scattered amongst the nations? First of all, everybody else is nations. We're Israel. So, who else has been scattered amongst all these nations for not keeping these commandments? Everybody else decided, we're going to conquer this land. We're going to come over here. We're going to be here. Or we're going to travel over here and we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We the only group of people that have been scattered into every nation. All you got to do is wait till the Olympics come on and look up there. You're going to see Tyrone running a 4x400. But then he speaks some language. You don't even understand what he's saying. You don't see that? You don't see in Jamaica, some Greek looking guy just running with a bunch of black people just running, beating people. You don't see that. But you see us everywhere you go. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And they will forget all my Torah and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to the new months and Shabbats and festivals and jubilees and ordinances.
All right. You see why they will pull this stuff out? He's talking about the transgression that we are going to do. They're going to forget my law and my commandments, my judgments of what is supposed to happen if you don't keep the law and commandments, and will go astray as to new months. Yeah, you're going astray to a new month. Automatically, you're going astray to a new month if you're waiting for a new moon to keep a month. Moon and month only relates in the English language. When you go to the Greek language, it don't even translate. Moon is Mane or something. No, month is Mane. Moon is Luna. Selene. Yeah, the word ain't even close. It's not even similar. But in English, moon and month is similar. So we automatically in this Babylonian language think, moon, month, same thing. But in the ancient languages, it has nothing to do with that. So by following this moon, you're already going astray in your new months. And why is that important? Because you're going against the order that he established. And then furthermore, not only your months are jacked up, all your holy days are jacked up. Now going on to his Shabbats, festivals, jubilees, and ordinances. You can't keep his ordinances, which are the animal sacrifices. You can't keep that back in them days if your months was off, if your Shabbats was profane. You can't keep the Shabbat if you messed up new month. Why? Because you unclean and now you're trying to keep a Shabbat with the uncleanness of you not following instruction. You profaning the Sabbath. You can't keep the festivals when you're keeping it on different days. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. You can't keep jubilees. You don't know when to free the people because you don't even know when atonement is, when they're supposed to free the people. And when you were supposed to do ordinances, you don't even know how to do the ordinances, and you won't have no desire to do that because it's a ripple effect. Once you offended one thing, a little bit of leaven leavens the what?
The whole lump.
The whole lump.
And brother, some people's versions of Jubilees, it would just say new moons right there.
Right.
Even in those same versions, you go to 636 and it says, they shall go error as to the new moons, according to the new moons.
Right. Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. So you'll see that there's a mistranslation in this English version, not necessarily the Hebrew itself.
Right. And that's the one thing about the Sefer writings that is difficult is because they kept those. They just allowed us to start seeing those things. In Cush, they've been had all that stuff together in their language, in Aramaic and all those other languages. They had all that. We don't speak that.
Ge'ez.
What is it? Ge'ez?
Amharic.
Right. They have those translations and they can verify and see clearly that's month. That ain't got nothing to do with moon. There's a whole nother word. There's a whole nother Semitic or Hamitic word for moon. That doesn't mean that. But we get the English translation and we have nothing else to depend on. But this is why I deal with the King James. Because the King James at least has the Strong's Concordance that can go with it. Where you have lexicons for every single word so you can see the Hebrew word that was used for every word in the Old Testament and the Greek word that was used in the New Testament. At least from a Greek language and a Hebrew language, you can now discern, are they translating this correctly? You can't do that in the Sefer writings. But with Torah and with this New Testament, if you study this, then you'll be able to go in there and say, no, that don't make no sense. That has to be a mistranslation because I know there's different words for that. Why they decide to use that? You mean you're going to go and err to the ordinance of the moon according to the new moon? That don't make no sense. Go ahead, Op.
Verse 15. And after this they will turn to me from amongst the Gentiles with all their heart, and with all their soul, and with all their strength. And I will gather them from amongst all the Gentiles, and they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them when they shall seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I will disclose to them abounding shalom with righteousness, and I will remove them the plant of uprightness with all my heart and with all my soul. And they shall be for a blessing and not for a curse, and they shall be the head and not the tail. And I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will dwell with them, and I will be Yahweh, their sovereign ruler, and they shall be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will not forsake them nor fail them, for I am Yahweh, their sovereign ruler.
So he's giving you the end result. And they will turn to me from amongst the Gentiles, from all the nations. They will come out. That's what it says, come out of her, come out of Babel, come out this confusion. The nations have confusion because they have angels that are over them that are purposely leading them away from the Most High. So Israel can be sanctified amongst the Gentiles with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength. And I will gather them from amongst the Gentiles. He's going to gather them. And they will seek me. They will seek Yahweh. They will turn to him. They will seek this truth, his word. You want to seek Yahweh, you got to get in his word. You got to understand what was with him in the beginning. This word, Yasharah. Get into this book, seek them with all your heart and with all your soul. And all your heart and all your soul ain't enough. But because you're giving all your heart and all your soul, that which you're missing, he's going to supply to you through the Holy Spirit, through the Ruach HaKodesh, by giving you the spirit of his son that makes you whole, which is life. Then he's talking about, I'm going to take you and I will remove from them the plant of uprightness. I will take the righteous ones and remove them from the wicked ones and put them back in their place, and they will no longer suffer these curses. Right now we all suffer these curses because even if we repent ourselves, we still got to suffer for the curse that our brothers are doing, or the curses that from things we did in the past. So we might keep the Shabbat and we might do the best we can to keep these commandments even though we fall. But our brothers and sisters out there partying right now, they're at the mall right now buying stuff. So they're going to get the recompense of that. And when we go out in the street, the police don't see, that brother keeps the Shabbat. They don't know the difference. They see these are the same people rioting and shooting up the place and taking little retarded white boys and beating them up on camera and all. This is what they see. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Jubilees, verse 19. Jubilees chapter 1, verse 19.
Right.
And Moshe fell on his face and prayed and said, O Yahweh, my sovereign ruler, do not forsake your people and your inheritance, so that they should wander in the error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they should rule over them and cause them to sin against you. Let your mercy, O Yahweh, be lifted up upon your people, and create in them an upright spirit, and let not the spirit of Belial rule over them, to accuse them before you, and to ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they perish from before your face. But they are your people and your inheritance, which you have delivered with your great power from the hands of the Egyptians. Create in them a clean heart and a Kodesh spirit, and let them be not ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity.
All right, so Moshe understood. He stood in the breach for his people, said, man, don't do this. You fix this, Yah. He didn't say, I'm going to fix this, or they're going to fix themselves. He understood the remedy to this. Create in them a clean heart and a Holy Spirit, a Kodesh spirit. You do this, Yah. You create this in them. So he understood that you have to do this. So you not going to clean up your heart and your spirit and say, I'm clean and I'm good. Now I'm going to approach unto Yahweh. It don't work that way. You have to do the actions that show Yah that you want him to create a clean heart and provide you with a Holy Spirit. You do that first. Then he comes in and he says, okay, when you see your child cleaning up the room and doing stuff and their little children, they can only do so much. After a while, you got to come behind them and say, okay, you can't reach up here. Let me get this. He doesn't even know that, you're going to need some more chemicals to clean this. He just wiped it. Let me get the chemicals and clean it. But you want to see your child putting forth the effort first. But what we believe is we have the power to clean ourselves up, and we just going to be holy smokes, then come to the Most High and be like, yeah, I'm ready to serve you. Don't work like that. You need to go take a bath. You need to go get your baptism, take your immersion, so that you authorize Yahweh to give you the Holy Spirit, so you now have the ability to be cleaned. And then Yah will cleanse you through his son, this word, not us. And if you feel that you going to clean yourself up like that, then you still denying the power of the Mashiach, because you think it's you. What you need him for then, if you can just clean yourself up? That means you holy. You just deciding to be wickedness. You really holy the whole time. It don't work that way. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I know the contrariness in their thoughts and their stiff-neckedness, and that they will not be obedient until they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers.
They will not be obedient until they confess their sin, their own sin, and the sin of their fathers. And how you have to do that, you have to acknowledge that, man, my fathers taught me some wickedness. This great person, we know it says honor your father and your mother, but if they taught you wickedness, they taught you wickedness. They taught you to worship on Sunday, they taught you wickedness. That is the opposite of the Sabbath day. That is it's not even close. If you have the beginning and the end, and you're supposed to be on the end, but you start on the beginning, that is the exact opposite. But you have to humble yourself. You have to acknowledge that. Now, did they do that on purpose? I don't believe many of our parents knew this and did this on purpose. But you're not going to change until you can first acknowledge and humble yourself that you were lied to. Go ahead.
Verse 23, and after this will they turn to me in all uprightness and with all their heart and with all their soul, and I will circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of the heart of their seed. And I will create in them a Kodesh spirit, and I will cleanse them so that they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity. And their souls will cleave to me and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments, and I will be their Abba, and they shall be my children. And they shall be called children of the living Yahweh. And every Malach, angel, and every spirit shall know, yes, they shall know that these are my children, and that I am their Abba in righteousness, uprightness, and righteousness, and that I love them. And do you write down for yourself all these words which I declare unto you on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall come to pass in all the division of the days in the Torah, and in the testimony, and in the weeks, and in the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity.
So it's even telling you the end. It's the beginning, and they don't clarify a lot of this stuff until you get to Revelation, where they're really expounding. This is how they knew when Yahshua came back. Are you here to restore the kingdom? Are you here? Is this over? Are we removed from the rule of the Gentiles? Because they had them in these ancient scriptures from Torah, because they didn't have a New Testament during Yahshua's time. They were living it. But they had the Torah, and they had all these ancient writings that told them what was going to happen. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And he said to the Malak of the presence, write for Moshe from the beginning of creation till my sanctuary has been built among them for all eternity. And Yahweh will appear to the eyes of all shall know that I am the sovereign ruler of Yasharal and the Abba of all the children of Yaakov, and king on Mount Zion for eternity. And Zion and Jerusalem shall be Kodesh. And the Malak of the presence who went before the camp of Yasharal took the tables of the division of years from the time of the creation of the Torah and of the testimony of the weeks of the jubilees according to the individual years, according to all the number of the jubilees, according to the individual years, and from the day of the new creation when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed and all their creation according to the powers of the heaven and according to the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of Yahweh shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries be renewed for the healing and for shalom and for blessing for all the elect of Yasharal. And thus it may be from that day and unto all the days of the earth.
All right, we're going to go forward a few chapters. We're going to go to Jubilees chapter 6. Now, Jubilees chapter 6 is going to start giving us specific instructions on this breakdown of how many days are in a year, how many months are in a year, how many days are in a week. So this information here is talking about with Noah and creation, the new creation of the flood and how things were happening. But in this, it's going to explain the calculation of a year. So you can see that if you govern your year by a moon or by a sun alone, you are going to have a different type of calendar. You're going to have a 365-day calendar, or you're going to have a 354-day calendar, or you're going to have something that is off. So this is why they were removing these things. How could you have a whole Torah, a complete book that doesn't tell you exactly how many days are in a year, exactly how many months? It just talks about numbers of months, but doesn't give you exact instructions. Does that sound like the Most High that we read in this book that's going to leave things vague and say, you know what, I'm just going to let them try to figure out how many days are in a year, or let them try to figure out how many months? That's not the Most High. If he will go so explicit to tell you that if your brother dies without having children while he's married, that the next of kin brother has to marry that wife and raise up seed in his name. He will go that deep, but forget to tell you how many months are in a year, how many days are in a year. That doesn't add up. The context clues there will let you know they took things out of this book. So Jubilees chapter 6, or the Hebrew word for Jubilees would be Yobelum, or Yobel. Yobelum chapter 6. And we're going to start this at verse 1. And again, if you don't have access to the book of Jubilees or any of the other Sefer writings, you can always go for, again, freely it was given back. Go to IsraeliteGathering.com. Israelites with an S, gathering.com, and go to the books and Bibles, and you can get access to everything we will ever read in any of our classes, even things we won't read because it's a little bit too in-depth. Be available for free to either download or to look at. So Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 6 and verse 1.
And on the new month of the third month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made an atonement for all the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth. For everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, and a goat, and a sheep, and kids, and salt, and a turtle dove, and a dove, a young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and with oil, and sprinkled wine, and caused a goodly savor to arise acceptable before Yahweh. Cooking, man. And Yahweh smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you, increase you and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you will I inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food, as the green herbs I have given you all things to eat. But flesh, with the life thereof, with blood, you shall not eat. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man and at the hand of every beast will I require the blood of man.
All right, so there's clues in here of why it was supposed to be a humble and contrite spirit unto us when we killed an animal. Because when we sinned, we in the old way of doing things, we had to sacrifice an animal and shed innocent blood on an animal. Not because we were going to eat. No, just simply because we sinned. You already had animals that were sacrificed so that you could eat. But no, you had to sacrifice this innocent animal that is doing what it's supposed to do. That you know, the cow that's eating the grass like he's supposed to eat, or you know, the ox that's doing what he's supposed to do, the lamb that's baaing like he's supposed to do. But you got to kill that animal because you decided you didn't want to follow the instructions of your father because of the lust of your own flesh. So we are supposed to feel sorry for that, because the hand of every beast will we require the blood of man. So we were responsible. So this had to be done. So because we stopped caring about animals and it became a business, then we no longer, it wasn't a suitable sacrifice anymore, because we were just, hey, I got 10 sheep. Let's go gather. We killed the sheep. You know, that woman was worth it. So that wasn't suitable. And then it talks about here why we don't eat the blood of these animals, because in the blood is the spirit. So when an animal is killed, the animal fears. The animal knows it's going to die. And you killing that animal. And now you drinking the blood, which is carrying the spirit of that animal. Well, the spirit of that animal is to be a beast and to be, you know, to do the laws. The animal don't got to keep the Sabbath day. So you're getting the spirit of that animal and you're eating that. And now that spirit is being mixed with in your blood, because it's going in your bloodstream. And the spirit of that animal is going into you. So you look at these days, it's even worse. Back in those days, they would kill an animal. They had some kind of law, the way they killed the animal. They would cut his neck and bleed him out. Now, they torturing these animals. So you're taking meat and eating meat that was tortured or put in these inhumane conditions. Eating that is bad enough. But they're now eating that with the blood of animals that were tortured, that grew up angry in these clumped up situations, fed all these chemicals and all these different things, and then ingesting that causes a problem. And not only uncleanness, but spiritual implications of that when you're ingesting that type of stuff. Now, vegans will say, well, this is why we don't eat the meat at all, because, you know, when you eat that, you getting the DNA of this animal, this, that. No, we read it right here. It's the blood. Stay away from the blood. He didn't say stay away from the flesh. Stay away from the blood, because the blood carries the spirit. The flesh don't carry the spirit. The blood carries the spirit. Go ahead,
Verse 8.
Go ahead, Elder.
I just wanted to add, you know, I mean, it's a very good point you made, but also if somebody's going to read that, they also might misunderstand verse 6, you know, dealing with Behold, I gave unto all beasts and all winged things and everything that moves upon the earth and the fishes in the waters and all things for food, as the green herb. I gave you all these, all things to eat. People might try to use that and say, oh, see, we can still eat pork.
Right.
Unclean things, or these sea roaches and so forth, shrimp and all. No, don't construe what this means. He's talking to his people about what they're supposed to do, but they already know from Y'ahNatan, which is Leviticus, when he talks about what type of animal they should eat, what type of fish they should eat. That will be clean food unto them. He also talks about Deuteronomy, chapter 4, what they're supposed to be doing, and to eat and keep themselves clean, and also what they're supposed to worship. He didn't give them the things he gave the other nations to worship. He gave us him to worship. So just as you stated, is Yahweh going to talk about what a family and what should be able to do if they lost their husband, the wife lost her husband, of a family and cannot have a child or son to keep on his name. If he's going to get that intricate, he also get that intricate in what his children should eat, so they will be holy before him and not unclean.
Right.
So, because they cannot come to him unclean. As they also reiterate that about people with dealing with Cephas in the New Testament, by being unclean, by the Gentiles and so forth. So if they read Leviticus chapter 11, it tells you about the food we're supposed to eat, so they won't misconstrue what is going on in your belly. 6 verse 6. So I know you can elaborate a little more on that, brother.
Right. I mean, you brought up a great point. He wasn't talking to Noah about what's happening right now. Noah lived this. He was talking to the children of Yasharal. So the children of Yasharal already understood that you didn't eat certain things. And it was already cultural that they didn't eat certain things. And furthermore, Noah wasn't at the time, the dispensation of the law. So the same laws weren't dispossessed to Noah at that time. So even if he did eat certain things, it would have been by the Spirit saying, eat this or don't eat this. But at this time, the children of Yasharal were already given and understood that you didn't eat certain things. It was already in their culture, because from before they even got to Egypt, they understood from cultural things that, okay, we don't eat this, we eat that. And furthermore, where they lived, they wouldn't have had certain things. Certain things are come from certain climates. So they wouldn't have been exposed. As when we start being spread out to all these different parts of the world, is when we start being exposed to these different types of food. And furthermore, you can't take something that Noah did when you've already been given the law and the commandments and say, well, Noah was able to do that. Well, yeah, if it was okay, just say Noah did do that. I'm not saying he did, but if he did do that, if Yah has came and sent his servant and his prophets from that point after, closer to your time, it says don't do that. Who are you to say, well, no, I'm going to go back to. So you were there before the flood? You're going to go and live like how they lived before the flood? That doesn't make any sense. That's just disobedience. That's just basically trying to find a way to do the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. And even during that time when Noah was filling up the ark, he had specific instructions about clean animals. Unclean.
Right. So they didn't multiply too many. He had, what was it? Take you 2 of every unclean beast and take you 7 of every clean beast. So obviously there was some kind of understanding. Okay, deal with this in this way and deal with that. Why would you have more clean beasts?
And
because you eating those animals, you're not eating the unclean animals. If you only have 2 of those animals and you eating them, there wouldn't be no chicken in the earth. Because there's only 2 that ate it all.
Mm-hmm. Verse 8.
Jubilees chapter 6 and verse 8.
Whoso sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for the image of Yahweh made he man.
Because the spirit is contained in the blood, and that spirit is the image of Yahweh. So you are killing the host that is holding the spirit of Yahweh. If I have gold in a pot like this, and the gold is precious unto me, and you take that pot and break that pot, that's disrespectful. I'm like, how are you going to break the vessel that's carrying my precious stuff? There's going to be a recompense for that. If he's holding you responsible for killing an animal, how you think he going to deal with you for killing his servants? Go ahead.
Verse 9. And increase you and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahweh forever throughout all the generations of all of the earth in this month. On this account, he spoke to you that you should make a covenant with the children of Yasharal in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that you should sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant which Yahweh made with them forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beast or of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And you do command the children of Yasharal to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahweh, our sovereign ruler, continually. And for this Torah there is no limit of days, it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day, at the time of the morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahweh, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And they gave to Noah and his sons a sign that they should not again be a flood on the earth. And he set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation to the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. From the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they eat blood. But Abraham observed it, and Yitzchak and Jacob and his children observed it up to your days, and in your days the children of Yasharal forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do you command the children of Yasharal to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them. 1 day in the year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraved concerning it. Celebrate it. For I have written in the book of the first Torah, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season 1 day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the children of Yasharal should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, 1 day in every year. And on the new month of the first month, and on the new month of the fourth month, and on the new month of the seventh month, and on the new month of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
All right, the seasons are divided. Go ahead.
And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new month of the first month he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new month of the 4th month, the mouth of the depths of the abyss were closed. And on the new month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abyss were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever. And thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks, from one to another, past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth.
All right, so there's 13 weeks in between. Go ahead.
And all the days of the commandments will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete.
All right, so there you go. If we know there's 7 days in a week, and we're given the exact commandment And this is a commandment. In other words, this is instruction from the Most High. You can't change this. All the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days. And this, the entire year complete. So a complete year is 52 weeks. Go ahead.
Verse
52
31.
times 7 is what? 364. Go ahead.
And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year from year to year. And command you, the children of Yasharal, that they observe the years according to this reckoning. 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts. For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast.
All right. So 364 days. This is how long the calendar is supposed to be. A complete year, 52 weeks with 7 days a week gives you 364 days. And this is how you follow so that your feasts always fall on the same day that they're supposed to follow. So if it's even a perfect 364 days times 7 weeks, that means your new year will always start on the same day. Your Passover will always be on the same day. Numbered day of the calendar, but also the actual weekly day. So New Year starts on a 4th day every year. So on the 4th day every year, your New Year is going to start. Your Passover falls on a specific day of the week. Whatever day that week is. What Passover is what?
Passover is the 14th day of the first.
So what day is that? Weekly day is that?
That is Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday night?
Starts Monday night, and then Tuesday night going into Wednesday begins unleavened bread.
So it's going to always fall on that. You're not going to look at one year and be like, okay, this year it's on a so-called Monday. The next year it's on a so-called Wednesday. That happens because you have 365 days. So the calendar is constantly going off, and you got 366 on certain years, every 4 years. So your feasts are jumping all over the place. Oh, and even worse, when you follow a new moon, the new moon got 354 days. So you get 10 days off every year, either starting too early or starting too late. And then if you do 13 months because you know that you don't have enough days, you 380 something days. You starting way too late. Go ahead.
Verse 31. And there is no neglecting this commandment a single year from year to year.
33.
Verse 33. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Yasharal will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new months and seasons and Shabbats, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years.
Isn't that exactly what happened? We forgot the path of years. We don't even know what year we're in. I don't know what year we're in. And then we will forget the new months. We looking at this Gregorian calendar and saying this is the new month, according to this calendar. And then many of us, when we're not using this calendar, we're looking for a new moon and wondering and saying, well, the new moon is out. Moon month, that's the new month. And then we arguing about when a new month starts. Starts in a dark moon, starts in a sliver moon. That don't start your month regardless. That the moon and all that stuff, understanding that lunar cycle is for farming and for livestock, not for calculating holy days. Go ahead.
Verse 35. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book is written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance.
The feast of the Gentiles. The Gentiles make feasts until the moon, and make feasts until the stars, and make feasts until the ocean, Pleiades, and all these, and they look at constellations and say, we got a feast of this new solar month or this new zodiac sign. They had every single day of the year, they had a god for that day. So they had to make it equal to certain things because they was worshiping the host of heaven. So we're picking up all these things because we don't know anything else to do. But it was worse with our people's time because our forefathers knew this, but they just well, all the Gentiles outnumber us, and that's what they're doing, so I'm going to do that too. No, we got to come out of those things, especially if we've been exposed to it. They didn't have access to all this thing. You had to be a rich person to have access to this wealth of information that you don't even have to have a book. As long as you got a cell phone with internet connection, you can find these things out. Go ahead.
Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon.
It disturbs the seasons because it doesn't follow the seasons of the earth. The moon comes in, has a 29.5 day lunation, which means a cycle. A lunation is a full cycle. If it has 29.5 days, that's an average. I'm not a mathematician, but I know 29.5 of 12. I understand that you can't get a full year. Even in a Babylonian calendar, you can't get a full year with 12 months of 29.5 days. Yeah, you have some that has 30, some has 31 or whatever, according to, the way they calculate things. But regardless, that's still taken into account to give you an average of 29.5. That means you got some that are 28. But either way, it doesn't add up. So just from pure mathematics, you can see it doesn't add up. This is why they removed these books. Because a first grader that can add, subtract, and divide can do the math and say, Daddy, this doesn't add up. How does the moon have 29.5 days average? But yet, our Bible that you're telling me to follow is saying it's 364 days and 52 weeks. And he gives you all the information in here so that you can do the simple math and realize this ain't right. They had to pull this out so that they could justify changing new month to new moon in this book. But we don't want to go by that because we want to reject common sense to hold on to tradition. That will never work, especially if it's not the tradition of righteousness. Go ahead.
Verse 37. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean day with the Kodesh. For they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbats and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new months and seasons and Shabbats and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh.
So why this is affecting your Shabbats is because we have something that's called a Shabbaton. A Shabbaton is when you have a holy day that is also ordained to be a rest day, like trumpets, like Matzah, day 1, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Teruah, trumpets. Those are Shabbatons. Just like atonement, a Shabbaton. That means it's a day that you are commanded to rest and treat like a Sabbath day, even though it doesn't fall on the 7th day of the week. If you are messing up your calendar by one day, all of your Shabbatons are wrong. Every single one is going to be off because you're not starting the month properly. Your festivals, which are your Moadim, your feast days, all of those days are going to be off because you're not following instructions. This is the test. When you go and you're given a test to get a job, they're trying to see, giving you instructions. Take this, fill this out, fill this application, put this information here, do this and do that. That application is to see, well, I'm trying to collect your information, but I'm trying to see if you can follow instructions. Why is he going to put you into a kingdom where there is no death, there is no pain, no suffering, if you're going to bring death, pain, and suffering into that kingdom by being disobedient? It's not going to work. Let's get back into the Torah. Let's go to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1. We're going to get further witnesses that you cannot use this moon and this Gentile system to try to calculate your new year or your new months. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1. And we're just going to read verses 14 through 19 real quick, and we're just going to look at something.
And Elohim said,
Hold on, brother. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 14 through 19.
And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
All right. So he said, let there be lights, which is Mayor, in the firmament of heaven to divide the day, Yom, from the night, Hashek. And let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. So if we look at what signs are, let them be for oaths, which is in the sense, which is H226, in the sense of appearing, a signal, a flag, a beacon, monument, omen, prodigy, evidence, marker, miracle, sign, token. Let it be for a signal. Let it be for evidence of something. Proof that something is going to happen. Right? And for seasons. Moade, for the appointed times, to let you know when a new season is coming, to let you know when a holy day is here, to give you this information. And what is given that? Lights. These lights are given that. All right? And for days, which is Yom, and for years, which is Shana. So this is what these lights in the sky are given for. Lights give off light. They are producers of light. They produce light and they shine that light forward. That is something that is made to do that. When I take a flashlight, that flashlight produces light and gives off light. That is a light. Now that light can shine on something, but the thing that is shining off, if there's no light shining on it, it's not a light. It is reflecting light. So keep that understanding in place. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also.
All right, so let's stop right there in verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights. So let's look at what lights is. It's H3974, Mayor. H3974, Mayor, which is spelled M-A-O-R. And that's from H215, properly a luminous body or luminary. That is abstractly light as an element, figuratively brightness. That is cheerfulness, specifically a chandelier of bright light. So a light is a luminous body. It illuminates. A light bulb is luminous. It illuminates. When you take a wall, you wouldn't call a wall a white wall. You wouldn't call that a luminous item. But when you cut on the light and it shines off the light, it gives off light. But you still wouldn't call that wall a luminous thing. You would call that light bulb a luminous thing. So these two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. Go ahead. Oh, and it says, and here's another tragic mistranslation. And it says in verse 16, in here it says, he made stars also. So it's implying that this greater light, which we know is the sun, and this lesser light is something else, but he made stars also, like if that was different. First of all, he made stars also was one Hebrew word for all those different words that have an actual Hebrew word that could be used for that. So somebody's adding to this translation here. They even put it in most of our versions. They have it like in a light gray to let you know that they added that in there for your understanding. He made stars also was one Hebrew word. The Hebrew word was kokab, which is H3556. Kokab, spelled K-O-K-A-B. And that's properly from the same as H3522 or H3554 in a sense of blazing, a star as round or shining, figuratively a prince, star. So how it should have read is, he made two great lights, a greater light rule the day, and lesser lights to rule the night. Stars. That's all it should have said. So it should have let you know you have stars to rule the night, and you have a greater light, the brighter star, the greatest light, to rule the day, which was the sun. When you have nighttime, you look up at the sky, the stars light up the whole earth, to the point where we use that northern star to guide us, to be a signal to show us where north is, to show us where we are in the season, depending on where the stars are and they're located. But somebody who's worshiping the moon tried to imply that there were two great lights, a greater light to rule the day and a lesser light, and then also their stars. Again, bringing you back to that point I made. This light bulb gives off light. That's luminous. It shines on this table. It's giving off light. It's lighting up my face from off this paper. You take this paper, you put it in the dark, it ain't gonna light nothing up. It's not luminous. That moon is the same way. That moon don't give off any light. The only light that comes off that moon is anything, like if you shine light on a white or a gray looking thing, it's going to give off light, reflect light. So it's not luminous. It has no light of its own. It is an imposter. The sun gives off light. The moon gives off a reflection of light. That is not your sign. That is not the luminous, the mayor that he's talking about. It may appear so because it's reflecting light. So now when you take that and try to use that as your sign and your signal for seasons and days and years and all that, it's already telling you it disturbs the seasons. We just read that. We just read that in the ancient scriptures. It disturbs the seasons. It's going to push you off. And this is why we have all this gross miserror thing, because we're using something that is vanity, that appears like it's giving off light, but it's not. It's just reflecting light. So you can't use that reflection of light, which is off, to calculate your days. Did we finish that up?
We're at verse 17.
Go ahead, continue reading.
And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good.
And what divides the light from the darkness? When you see the moon, does that let you know it's nighttime?
Not at all.
Not because you see the moon during the daytime. But you're not seeing stars during the daytime. You're not gonna look up in the sky at 4 o'clock and be like, "Oh, look at the northern star. Let's go that way." You ain't gonna see it. That's what divides day from night. When you see the stars in the sky, you're at Hoshek. When you see the sun in the sky, you are in Yom. You're in the daytime portion of the Yom. You can't use that moon. Imagine if we decide, well, that moon is out. It's nighttime. But bruh, it's 3:30. That sounds like utter confusion. But this is what we're doing when we're trying to use this moon to calculate our months, because in our English understanding, moon and month is the same thing. And this is why you can't trust their translation. Unless you get in here and see, wait a minute, there's only one word for he made stars also. There's another word for also in Hebrew. That ain't there. If they wanted you to understand that, they would have put that there. But they translated and made stars also to make you believe that the stars were separate, that wasn't the light that rules the night. Go ahead.
Verse 19, in the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
And there you go. You have your order of your days, how your day starts. In the evening, Arab. Then after the evening portion, the night portion, then comes the morning. And then you have your evening again, which starts the new day. So now we're going to get into how do we calculate. Okay, we know there's 364 days. We know there's 12 months. We know 7 days. How do we know the marker? We can't use the moon. We know the moon has 354 days, so we know that can't be the marker. So how do we determine that? Would the Most High just leave it vague and say, you know what, flip a coin, look at the ripples of the wave, wait till the barley turns green. That lets you know that it's the beginning of the first month. Oh, what about the second month? How do we know where the second month starts? Will the barley die or something? The Most High knows that we are sottish people. So he's going to give us exact instructions how to do things so that we can't go before him on judgment day and say, I didn't know, you didn't tell me. No, he gave you instructions. He's not going to hold you accountable for something that he didn't give you instructions on. He didn't tell us how to fly with the angels in heaven. So he can't hold us accountable because we don't fly with the angels in heaven. He didn't give us instruction or ability to do that. So now we're going back into the Sefer writing. We're going to a different one. We're going into the book of Enoch. Enoch, chapter 71. And the book of Enoch and Jubilees and all these books were discovered with the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran. So they can verify the age of these scriptures that well outdate this biblios that was created. So it was there before, and it includes the same things that were put into biblios. So this was there first. So they had this information at the time that they were creating this English version of the Bible. So why would you trust somebody to properly translate something like that decided this goes against what we want to do? I can't have people worshiping the moon and making cakes to Diana if it's telling us right here, don't do that. But I can say, oh, you're not worshiping the moon. You're following the Torah by doing these things. And people that can't read and don't read will say, yeah, you're right. Let's do that. So we're going into the book of Enoch or Hanok, the book of Enoch, and we're going to go to chapter 71, and this is going to break down how we calculate these months, because it's a very simple system. Now, you might want to go ahead and get a some scratch paper and start to write these things down. So in certain books it's different.
It's 71.
It's 71 or 72. It depends. And the Sefer, it's 71. But some of these other books, it's 72, because it all depends on how, because it was found in fragments. Some people put the chapter together, some people separated the chapter. So it's 71 or 72, but it's going to talk about this calculation of the months. And again, the great sign in the day was the sun. You can't deny that. You don't see the sun at nighttime. There's no proof of that for you to see that other than the reflection of the light that's bouncing off of the moon. That's the only reason it lets us know the sun is still around, but we have no perspective of that. So Enoch chapter 72 or 71, depending on what version you're using, and we're going to start that at verse 1. We're going to go slow, and you want to get some scratch paper so you can write down how you're going to calculate these things. Go ahead.
The book of the itinerary of the luminaries of heaven, the position of each and every one in respect to their ranks, in respect to their authorities, and in respect to their seasons, each one according to their names and their places of origin, and according to their seasons, which Uriel, the Kodesh Malach, who was with me, and who also was their guide, showed me, just as he showed me all the treaties and the nature of the years of the world unto eternity, till the new creation which abides forever is created. This is the first commandment of the luminaries. The sun is a luminary whose egress is an opening of heaven, which is located in the direction of the east, and whose ingress is another opening of heaven located in the west.
In other words, it rises in the east and sets in the west. Go ahead.
I saw 6 openings through which the sun rises and 6 openings through which it sets. The moon also rises and sets through the same openings, and they are guided by the stars, together with those whom they lead. They are 6 in the east and 6 in the west in the heaven. All of them arranged one after the other in a constant order. There are many windows both to the left and the right of these openings.
All right, so you have 6 gates. Those 6 things are gates, or what they call portals. And to give a visual perspective of what that is, I'm going to put up a diagram in the background. And hopefully we'll be able to see. All right, if we get in here, I'll pull up the diagram and you can see what we're talking about here. All right. So if I put this up, this is a diagram of the sun's path. All right. So when you look right here, these are the openings. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have, this is a different perspective. This would be the east in this diagram, and this is the west. So the sun goes through these portals at specific parts of the month. Of the year. East to west, east to west. So as it goes, if we were on this portal here, at this particular time of the year, which is close to where we're at now, you see it goes like this, like this. Like this every day. So every day as it sets and rises, sets and rises, sets and rises, sets and rises, it moves up like this. So when it's closer to the earth, here in this portal, you get less of the light because of the angle of the sun to light up the whole earth. So the earth is colder because it's less of that light. And as you go up, it starts to get warmer because you get, just like if you take a light and you shine it like this, it's only going to light up a small portion. But as you get over and light up, it's going to light up a larger portion and heat it up better. So as you go, it goes up, up, up till you get to here. And around here is when you get the new year. Up, up, up till you get to your highest point, which is your hottest portion of the year. And then it starts to go back down. So it's 6. They say 6 in the east, 6 in the west, but it's all just 6 different portals. And under each portals, there's windows in each one. And it's funny, this is Book of Enoch. They're talking about all this, but this is what NASA is trying to calculate with their so-called we gonna leave Earth and go into space, which they have never been in space. But they're trying to leave and go forward, and they have to calculate the time of the sun as it goes through so they can find a portion, or else it's going to explode. It's going to burn up everything. Go ahead.
Verse 4. First there goes out the great light whose name is the sun. The roundness is like the roundness of the sky, totally filled with light and heat. The chariot on which it descends is driven by the blowing wind. The sun sets in the sky in the west and returns by the northeast in order to go out to the east. It is guided so that it shall reach the eastern gate and shine in the face of the sky. In this manner it rises in the first month through the major gate. It proceeds through this gate, which is the fourth among those 6 openings which are located in the direction of the east.
All right. So the 4th gate is the great gate. That's the gate that begins the new year. The 4th gate. So understand, 4th gate starts the new year. We had a question? All right. Go ahead.
Verse 7. By this 4th gate through which the sun rises in the first month, there are 12 open windows from which a flame flows when they are opened at the appropriate time. And when the sun rises in the east sky, it goes out through this 4th gate for 30 mornings and descends faithfully through this 4th gate in the western sky. During those 30 days, the day daily becomes longer, with the night nightly shorter for 30 days. On that day, the day is longer than the night by 1/9. So the day turns out to be exactly 10 parts and the night 8 parts.
All right. So if we write this down, you have your 4th, your gate, your 4th gate. So in your 4th gate, you write 4 for the 4th gate. and then you have how many days the sun stays in that fourth gate. It says 30 days. So in this fourth gate, the beginning of that fourth gate, for the sun to go through that in that first month, it takes 30 days for it to go through that whole fourth gate. So here you have your fourth gate. First, second, third. Well, it's not ordered that way, but your fourth gate was right here. Fourth gate. In March, around March, April, around this portion here, it takes 30 days. So from there, it takes 30 days to go through that gate. And as it goes through that gate, and this is an approximation. It doesn't line up exactly with March being in this gate, but around that time. So theoretically, this is your fourth gate, or maybe this is probably closer, first, second, third, fourth. This is probably closer to being, it would be actually in here, but for diagram purposes, your fourth gate, it takes 30 days for it to go through that great gate. So every day, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 28, 27, 28, 29, 30 to go through that gate. So this would be your first month. Would go through Abib, would go through there. It would take 30 days to go through that. So it's important that you write that down, because when you're calculating your calendar, you have to understand how many days are in each month. So first month, Abib, is going through the fourth gate, and it takes 30 days of sunrises and sunsets, sunsets and sunrises, to go all the way through that gate. And each day that it goes through that gate, the day becomes longer and the night becomes shorter. Just like we know during the spring, the days start to get longer and the nights start to get shorter. And it goes through that. There's 18 parts of the day, and during those 30 days, the day becomes longer, the night becomes shorter for 30 days, and it is longer than the night by 1/9. So the day turns out to be exactly 10 parts, and the night exactly 8 parts on that last day of that portal. Go ahead.
So basically, it's like it began almost even, and then the days got longer throughout the year.
Right, which we'll see when we get to the last month. It'll confirm exactly what you're saying. Go ahead.
Verse 11. The sun rises from that fourth eastern gate and sets in the fourth western one. And then it turns and comes into the fifth gate of the east for 30 days, to which it rises and sets in the fifth gate. At the time of the day further becomes longer and becomes 11 parts, and the night shortens and becomes 7 parts on account of the sun.
11 and 7, 18. So it's letting you know there's 18 parts. So you'd have to take the day and divide it into 18 parts, which we understand 24 hours in a day, and divide that by 18, and you get 1.6 hours or something like that.
You said what? 18 divided
24. 24 days divided by 18 parts.
24 hours divided by 18 parts.
It's 1.3 is like
1 1/3.
1 1/3 hours would equal a part. So it's not apples to apples. It's not 24 parts. If it was 24 parts, then 1 hour would be 1 part. It's 18 parts. So 1.33 hours, 1 1/4 hours, 1 1/3. Go ahead.
And for anyone to relate to what it's saying as well, you see it all the time during like springtime when the nights start getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and the days just keep getting longer.
Right.
So right now, we'll get a sunset at like 6 o'clock, 5:30, 5:50. It starts getting dark, and then you'll know the season is changing later on in the year. March, April, May, you start seeing it get later, like 7, 8, 9 o'clock. You start seeing the sun go down.
Right.
Verse 15. Oh, this is verse 13.
Right.
Then it returns to the east and comes into the sixth gate, rising and setting through that sixth gate for 31 days. So that's the change of the season.
All right. So remember, go back to what you're writing down. On month number 1, it goes through the fourth gate. It goes for 30 days. So Abib is 30 days long. Then in the second month, it goes through the fifth gate for 30 days. So the fifth month is 30 days long. And now you're going into the third month, which is a changing of a season. It goes through the 6th gate. And how many days does it say?
31 days.
31 days. So just to jump ahead, this is how you calculate your months. First month is 30. The next month, 30. Then the last month of that season is 31 days. And it follows that order throughout the whole year. We're going to prove that through here. But just to give you a cheat to go ahead, that's how you calculate your months. Abib, 30 days. Second month, 30 days. Third month, which is the changing of a season, 31 days. And the reason why it takes 31 days in that last day of the month of that season is because the sun takes an extra day for it to change seasons. So that it follows that same order. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31 until you get to the last month of the season, which is the dead of winter. The end of winter is 31 days, and then you go into your Abib for 30 days. So to get back to the visual, your 4th gate for this purpose would be here. 30 days it takes to go through here. Then in your second month, 30 days to go through here. Then in your third month, 31 days to go through here. And it looks smaller, but look how far it has to go. It's going way out here. So it takes longer to go through. 31 days.
And that's also when the sun is reaching that extremity,
Right.
the highest in the sky, and
Right.
it returns back through that 6th gate.
Right.
So those 91 days make a block of season.
Right. That's a season. And it's always going to follow that order. So when you're looking at your calendar and you're trying to translate, you use those counting systems. So let's just start with that first season and we'll calculate how we get those days. So we know March, let's say March 14th would be your Hebrew New Year. The night of March 14th is your Hebrew New Year. So if you get your calendar, you get March 14th. We know our days start at night. So the 14th, which is a Tuesday night, the third day at night, when it starts the 4th day, which is that sundown of Tuesday night, that is Rosh Hashanah. That is the head of the year, New Year. So we know from Enoch, it's passing into that 4th gate, which means that night before should have been equal day and equal night, which we'll get into later. Count 30 days with the 14th being day 1 because that's the new month. Count 30 days and I'll give you into your second month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the last day would be what? Wednesday the 12th. So Wednesday the 12th will be the end, will be the 30th day of Abib, which means on the Thursday, the 13th, you put a big square around that. That is the beginning. That is Rosh Chodesh. That is your new month of your second month. So you put a 2 around that. So April 13th at sundown, which is going to take you in to the next day, that is your second month. So now you count that being day 1, April 13th. You count another 30 days because the sun takes 30 days in the 5th gate. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So it should end on Friday the 12th. Friday the 12th is when it ends. That's the last day.
Now counting up 30 days from the 14th, I'm getting the 12th that night.
Right. The 12th at night.
Okay.
That is the last day.
Okay.
So that means
13th.
the 13th, May 13th, that would be your third month beginning. And why that's important is because we know what's going to happen in that month. You're going to have your Feast of First Fruits. So let me put that calendar up there, and we'll count it up on the screen for visual purposes. And it's always good to make sure you get a calendar so you can visually do this. All right, so I'll put the calendar up so those that don't have a calendar in front of them can see. So, if you can see here, this would be Hebrew New Year's, March 14th. That will be day 1 of Abib. You'd have to count 30 days for that first month. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that is your last day of Abib, Wednesday, April 12th. That means on the 13th at sundown, that becomes your second month. So Thursday, April 13th will be your second month. Then you have another 30 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Friday the 12th will be the last day of your second month, which would mean Saturday the 13th would be the beginning of your third month. That's your first season. That is the last month of your first season. All right, so let's get back into Enoch. So this is how you calculate. This is how you count. This is how you're able to translate the Kodesh calendar into what you have now. We don't look at it and see, okay, we're in the 12th day of the third month. We don't see stuff that way. We have Gregorian calendar. You can't tell somebody to meet you on April 17th and think that that translates into the ancient calendar. It doesn't. So you have to be able to use both and to get your Gregorian calendar so you can know what days to take off from work for your Shabbatons.
Mm-hmm. Might have to make a part 2.
All right. Go ahead.
We're at verse 15. The sun is raised in such a way that its duration shortens and night occurs. The sun returns to the east and enters the 6th gate, rising and setting through it for 30 days. When 30 days are completed, the day decreases exactly by 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7.
So what gate is that goes through?
This is the 6th gate, entering into the 6th gate.
So it goes through the 6th gate again in the 4th month.
Yep, so it's pretty much like how it reaches extremity and it's still in the 6th gate.
And it stays longer, and it's just coming down, but it stays in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 6th gate for 30 days, and the night starts getting shorter. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Then the sun, leaving the west by that 6th gate, going to the east, rises through the 5th gate for 30 mornings and sets again in the 5th gate in the west. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts. So the day becomes 10 parts and the night becomes 8 parts.
All right. So now you're in your 5th month, and in the 5th month, it's now in the 5th gate. So the first month, it's in the 4th gate for 30 days. The second month, in the 5th gate for 30 days. The third month, it's in the 6th gate for 31 days, which is the end of that first season of spring. And then you go into your 4th gate. It's still moving down in the 6th gate for 30 days for the 4th month. Then you go in the 5th month. It's in the 5th gate for 30 days. And the sun is getting to a point where the night is starting to get longer and the day is starting to get shorter. Go ahead.
And that pretty much happens in the same, within that same range, gate range.
Right.
Returning and falling in that same gate range.
Exactly.
Verse 19. Then the sun departing from that fifth gate, setting in the fifth gate in the west, rises in the fourth gate for 31 days, according to the principle of the gate, and sets in the west.
All right, so it goes back into the fourth gate, which is that same gate that we started the new year, but it's going a different direction. And that goes in for 31 days because that's the end of your season. That is now that you had spring. That is the end of fall. Because you got 3 months in those seasons. Go ahead.
Verse 20. On that day, the day is aligned with the night, so that they become equal. So the night becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Verse 21. That's like the autumn equinox.
Again, you have equal day, equal night. So you have an autumn equinox at the end of that 6th month, where you have on that 31st day, you're gonna have close to an equal day, equal night. But it's cool outside. So that's how you don't get confused with the spring equinox, where it's warm. It's starting to get cold. So this is how, if you had no calendar, you had nothing to reference, you'd be able to know what part of the year you're in. Is it getting colder, or is it starting to get warmer? If you got the day looks like it's about equal day and equal night, it's almost the same amount of daytime as nighttime, then you know, okay, well, is it starting to get cold, or is it starting to get warm?
And also,
that tells you where you are.
And also, are the nights getting longer, or the nights getting shorter? Is the day getting longer, or is the day getting shorter?
Right. The day is getting shorter. And that's a perfect point. Say the weather is kind of like, you in Miami or something. It ain't really, you just can't really tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cold
is the night starting to get longer? Okay, I know I'm in the fall. Or is the day starting to get longer? You know what? I have less time. I have less time to do what I need to do before the Shabbat. Or I have more time to Shabbat. Because that's how we look at stuff. Like with the Shabbat, like, oh man, I got to beat this sun going down. Let me go ahead. I need to go run to the store, grab something real quick.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mind frame we need to be getting into. All right, so that's the 6th gate, the end of fall. Now we're going into the 7th gate.
Verse 21, the sun departing...
7th month, excuse me.
Then the sun departing from that gate and setting in the west returns to the east and comes out the 3rd gate for 30 days and sets in the 3rd gate in the west.
All right, so the 7th month, it is leaving the 4th gate and going into the 3rd gate for 30 months. So the sun is getting closer to the earth. It's moving down. The angle is coming down. This is like sometimes when you drive to work in the morning. For those who get up early, you see the sun will be at a certain spot, and the sun will be here at a certain time every morning. And then later in the year, the sun will be way up here at a certain time. It's always going to be east and west, but the angle that it is, sometimes it's higher and other times it's lower, but yet it's still, far away, but it's a different angle to where, like when you come home at certain times of the year, like now, the sun is shining dead in your eye because of the angle that it is. That's the gates.
That low first gate.
Right, that's the gates that lets you know that it's closer to wintertime.
So that's another good gauge of what time of the year you in.
Right, so that's the 7th month. It's going through that 3rd gate for 30 days. Again, simple order. We are Scottish people. He made it real simple. 30, 30, 31. That's the 3rd month. 30, 30, 31. That goes through the 6th month. 30, 30, 31 is going to take you through your 9th month. So now we're going into this 8th month. So without reading, I already know it's going to be 30 days in that 8th month. Go ahead.
Verse 22, on that day the night becomes longer than the day, it becomes longer than the previous night, and the day becomes shorter than the previous day. For 30 days, so the night turns out to be exactly 10 parts, and the day to be 8 parts. Then the sun departing from that 3rd gate in the west, returning to the east, comes out through the 2nd gate in the east for 30 days.
Okay, go ahead.
And in the same manner it sets through the 2nd gate in the western sky.
All right, so again, like I said, I'm not a prophet, I can just follow the simple instructions. I knew it was going to be 30 days. I don't need to get back to Enoch and read this every time. All I have to do is write down on the calendar, count the days, and say 30, 30, 31, change of a season. 30, 30, 31, change of a season. 30, 30, 31, change of a season until I get 12 months. So it goes to that second gate. Again, it's coming closer to the earth, a lower angular shine of the sun. 30 days in the second gate. So again, I'm not a prophet. I'm just your brethren, just like anybody else. I know it's going to be 31 days in this next gate. And it should be in the first gate. Go ahead.
And you just read, that was the second gate you just read?
Right.
All right. Verse 26. On that day, the night lengthens and becomes 12 parts, whereas the day shortens and becomes 6 parts.
So the night is twice as long as the day. Go ahead.
All right. Verse 27. Thus the sun completes its appearances and goes through those same cycles of appearances a second time, coming out through all the openings for 30 days and also setting in the west opposite to it. On that night, the length of the night decreases by 1 night, so the night becomes 11 parts and the day 7 parts. I hope I didn't skip something.
No, you did it. 27. The sun completes and goes through the same cycles of appearance a second time, coming out through all the openings for 30 days and setting in the west. So we know on what verse? Verse 11 parts, 7 parts. Second gate, setting in the west, rising the first gate for 31 days. So yeah, 9th month was the first gate, 31 days. Now we're going through the 10th gate, which is 26.
10th one?
The 10th month, right? Not 10th gate, you're right. 10th month. Goes through the same cycles as appears second time, coming out through all the openings, 30 days, and setting on the west. So it's going back through that first gate again because it goes through the same cycle. Because it's going back up. So it goes through that first gate for 30 days. So
the sun just pretty much cycles through the gates.
Right, cycles through the gates. All right. So then goes verse 29. Then the sun returning, entering the second gate, in which is the east, resumes appearance 30 mornings. So that 11th month, it goes through the second gate for 30 mornings. So again, I don't have to be a prophet to know that in the 12th month, it's going to be in that third gate for 31 days. Go ahead.
And we're at verse 20.
Start at 29.
29. The sun, returning and entering the second gate, which is in the east, resumes its appearances for 30 mornings, rising and setting as usual. On that day, the night becomes shorter, so the night becomes 10 parts and the day 8 parts.
All right, because you got through your summertime, it's starting to get to a point where it is getting it's starting to get warm again. Go ahead.
Verse 31. On that day, the sun departing from the second gate and setting in the west returns to the east and rises through the third gate for 31 days and sets in the western sky.
Right. So you had month 1 through 3, you got your spring. 4 through 6, you got your summer. 7 through 9, you got your fall. And now 10 through 12, first, second, and third gate, you got your winter time, 31 days, which is right now. So we know that during this winter period, there'll be 30 days, all the way up until we get to around February. Between February and early March, you're going to have those 31 days while the sun is in this third gate. And go ahead.
And the funny thing is that when we started our 10th month, we were in December.
Right, decimal. That lets you know that they're playing around with stuff. So I'll show you. Go ahead and keep reading that so we can just get to that equilux.
Verse 32. On that day, the night shortens and becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts, and the night becomes equal with the day, and the days of the year add up to exactly 364 days.
So on the 364th day of the year is when you have the equal day and equal night. That is your equilux. That is your last day of your year. The next day after that is Rosh Hashanah, is your new year. Go ahead.
Verse 33. The length of the day and the night, as well as the shortness of the day and the night, are determined by the course of the circuit of the sun and distinguished by it. The circuit becomes longer or shorter day by day and night by night, respectively. Thus, this is the order for the course of the movement and the settlement of the sun, that great luminary which is called the sun, for the duration of the years of the universe in respect to its going in and coming out. It is that very luminary which manifests itself in the appearance as Yahweh has commanded that it shall come out and go in this manner. And neither does it diminish in respect to its brightness nor take rest, but continue to run day and night. As for the intensity of its light, it is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. Nevertheless, the sun and the moon are equal in regard to their respective sizes.
All right, so according to Enoch, the sun is actually the same size as the moon, which is very interesting. That means the sun is so hot that the ball that the sun is actually the same size as the moon. But there's so much heat and flame and fire around it that shines so bright that it makes it appear larger. All right, so you got here, to go over this again, your fourth gate or your fourth opening or portal is right there. So it goes through there as the sun is going up, because as it goes up, you get hotter. As it goes down, it gets colder. As it goes up, the days are longer. As it goes down, the days are shorter. And you can see it's shorter because look how long it takes. It's from here to here.
Little exposure.
Is less time. So it's less light. The more the sun is out, the longer the days are. So out here, the day is much longer because it's way out here. It's way out here. So the day takes longer because it takes longer. The fastest point between a place is a straight line. So here, the straight line to there is shorter. The straight line from there to there is longer. So that's simple, geometry and calculation. So the first month, boom, 30 days. 30 days. Or here, 30 days, 30 days. The next, 30 days, 30 days. The next, 31 days. That will be your third month. Hottest parts. Then you go down into your sixth gate again for 30 days as it's starting to come down. Then it goes through your fifth gate, 30 days, 30 days. Then it goes again, 30 days, 30 days, then it's 31 days. Then you get down into your third gate, 31 days. Then you get down to your third gate, 30 days. That's your seventh month. Then you get down to your eighth gate, the eighth month, 30 days. Ninth month, 31 days. Then you get down into your first month, 31 days. It takes 31 days. Boom. Because it's changing a gate. Then it goes right back up again. Right back up. Right back up. Until you get your equilux, which is that line right there would constitute as the equilux. Till you get into your fourth gate again, which starts your new year. So that's the basics of understanding how the sun moves and how you calculate. Now, if you want to get a graphical look at the seasons of Enoch's calendar, I'll put that up so you can see what it looks like. Just the order of things. All right, so this will be a visual view of how the calendar, how the seasons work. Right here, which will be your last day of winter. That is your equilux. That's day 364. Right there. Day 364. Last day of winter. The next day is the first day, which is Rosh Hashanah. Would be that line right there. That'd be your first day. That's a bib day 1. The daylight hours are increasing. You got your first month of spring, 30 days. Your second month of spring, 30 days. Your third month of spring, 31 days. Now here's the issue. If this is 364 days, right here, if you're using the moon and starting the year at the same time everybody else starts, you're going to start, your new year is going to start up here. You're still in winter. That's 354. You still have 10 days, so you haven't got to spring yet. So 354 to 354, going back around, it's just going to keep going backwards. Because now you're 20 days too short. 354, and it keeps moving back. Till eventually you in autumn, you in summertime starting your year. And just say you decide, well, I know the moon is not long enough. It stops here. It's not going to get me to here. So I'm going to go another new moon. Well, you go to your next new moon. Now you 10 days too far. You're 10 days past the beginning of the year. The year would have started here. You're here. So you go back around. Here. Go back around. Here. Here. To the point where you starting in summer for your new year. So either way it's going to take you off. The only way to get to perfection is the 364 days. Where you got 30, 30, 31. It takes 31 days for the sun to change gates to go into the new gate. 31 of summer, 30 summer, 30 summer, late summer, 31 days. And then right on the end of your summer, when you're going into fall, you're going to have somewhat of another equinox right there. The autumn equinox. 30 days, 30 days, 31 days. It takes 31 days to go from your autumn or your fall to go into winter. 30 days, 31 days. That's what brings you into your Rosh Hashanah. So when you're taking your calendar and you're calculating, all you need to do is know when was Rosh Hashanah? When did equinox happen? The day after that equinox, you got your first day. And from that point, you get your calendar. You count 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31 till you get through all 12 months. And now you have your new months where they start. Now, when you have your new months, at that point is when you're going to start now calculating when does the holy days start. Because the holy day don't say, oh, February 28th is this day. The holy days say on the 14th day of the first month is your Passover. On the 15th day of the first month is your unleavened bread for 7 days. On the first month of the 7th month, you have this, and so forth and so on. So let's go to the conclusion. We're going to go to Enoch chapter 80, because here's another further witness that you can't use the moon. And why you can't use barley or something like that and say, well, you look at the barley when it turns green, that lets you know it's the first. First of all, how you going to look at some barley and be like, is that green? You might look at it and say, that look green to me, or that ain't green enough. It need to be a green. What the hell is a green? So Enoch chapter 80 for the conclusion, and he warns us about not following the simple math and the simple instructions. So Enoch chapter 80, let's hear the conclusion and the warning from our brethren, the prophet. And furthermore, this calendar system is the only calendar system where the author or the person that's presenting this to us says that the angel of Yahweh gave him this calendar. You got Gregorian calendar, the Pope Gregory gave us that. You got a lunar calendar, which Luna is a pagan god. You got a solar calendar, which Sola is a pagan god. You got all these different calendars. You got, this Julian calendar, which was given by Julius Caesar. You got all these calendars was named after some man or some pagan god. And then you have this Enochian calendar, which the author claims that he got this from the holy angel. Enoch chapter 80 for the conclusion.
In those days the angel Uriel responded and said to me, behold, I have shown you everything, Enoch, and I have revealed everything to you, so that you might see this sun, this moon, and those that guide the stars of heaven, as well as those who interchange their activities and their seasons and rotate their processions. In respect to their days, the sinners and the winter are cut short. Their seed shall lag behind in their lands and in their fertile fields, and in all their activities upon the earth. He will turn and appear in their time and withhold rain, and the sky shall stand still at that time. Then the vegetable shall slacken and not grow in its season, and the fruit shall not be born in its proper season. The moon shall alter its order and will not be seen according to its normal cycles.
All right. So we're given a warning that here in those days, he's shown us everything. But what's going to happen is, in respect to the days, the winners are cut short. The winner is cut short because people are following a different cycle. They're looking at different things to try to calculate the months and the years instead of using the sun, which is the witness. So they're using the moon, or they're looking at stars and waiting for a certain constellation to come in and say, oh, that's the witness that we have this. When we were given a simple system, just count. Things are going to change. And because of that, it talks about the sky will stand still. In other words, how would you know the sky is standing still? Because the stars are not moving according to the way things are supposed to move. Then the vegetable is not going to grow in its season. The fruit shall not be born in its proper season. So it's telling you something is changing. The earth is changing. Things are looking different. So if the vegetable is slacking to grow in a season, how are you going to look at some barley and be like, oh, this is a bib? Like the Jewish people try to say, oh, bib means to become green. Yes, in the spring, everything becomes green. That doesn't mean that's why you look at the barley and say it turned green. That marks the beginning of something. No, that's a witness. That lets you know, yeah, you're in springtime because the barley is green. But it's telling you in verse 3, it's going to change. Then this is why you can't use the moon. Other than the fact that the moon is 10 days too short in a year, it's going to alter its order. It is not going to be seen according to its normal cycles. We've already noticed that. Before, the sliver used to be like this. Now you look at it, the sliver is like up and down. It's changed. Either the earth is moved and to change our perspective, or the moon has moved. I doubt the moon moved because it's fixed to our gravitational pull. But something has changed. But at the end of the day, he says, until this creation is destroyed and a new creation is created, that sun gonna follow that same cycle back and forth always. Go ahead.
Verse 5. In those days it will appear in the sky and shall arrive in the evening in the extreme ends of the lunar path in the west, and it shall shine more brightly, exceeding the normal degree of light.
In other words, a supermoon. They were talking about all this stuff way before we had these terms of a supermoon, where that full moon is extra bright. It seemed like you could just grab the moon, it's so close. That's not normal. It ain't supposed to happen like that. Things have been changed. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Many of the chief of the stars shall make errors in respect to the orders given them. They shall change their courses and functions and not appear during the seasons which have been prescribed for them.
All right. What they talk about, I think it's Aries, the what they call those stars, the Aries. When you see Aries comes into the sky or whatever, that is used to be what they would determine, oh, that's the beginning of spring. But now Aries is coming in off kiltered. It's too early or too late, and people are getting confused. Because these chiefs of the stars, these stars are servants, just like the sun is a servant of the Most High, and it follows the order that it gave. But what's going on in heaven right now is the spirits and the angels are starting to work against Yah's order. This chaos is starting to happen. This is also part of the reason why heaven has to be destroyed, along with earth has to be destroyed. Because they're not following the order. And this is already predicted here. They're changing their courses. Functions are not appearing during the seasons which have been prescribed for them. Aries, which they call Aries, is supposed to be at a specific time. Sagittarius, or whatever name, the pagan names they gave those star groups, are supposed to appear at a specific time. There's nothing wrong with looking at the stars and mapping it. This is what Abraham did. This is what the ancients did. But when you start using that and saying, this is going to make me keep a holy day, or this is going to be this, now you're not following the instruction. We weren't given that instruction to say, when you see this star, that means you're supposed to do this. We were given instruction of when it becomes equal day and equal night, that is your last day of your winter time, or that is your summer getting ready to go into your fall. We were given those instructions. Man has decided, well, I've noticed these things, so it always happened that way, so I'm going to use that. And that caused us to err. Go ahead.
Verse 7. All the orders of the stars shall harden in disposition against the sinners and the conscience of those that dwell upon the earth. They, the stars, shall err against them the sinners, and modify all their courses. Then they, the sinners, shall err and take them to be gods. Take the stars to be gods. And evil things shall be multiplied upon them, and plagues shall come upon them, so as to destroy all.
All right, so they shall take them to be gods. How they take them to be gods? They start naming these things and giving them, the god of war, Ares, or Mars, the god of this, or Jupiter, the god of that. They're taking all these luminaries and these satellites that are in the earth, that are in the heavens, and they're making them gods, like they determine something. Like the stars determine who you are as a person with these zodiac signs, and the stars ain't got nothing to do with that. Now, yeah, obviously you born when it's warm outside, you might have a certain, disposition to warm. Or you born when it was cold, you might have a certain disposition to cold because that was your first experiences. But as far as making it your God, where now, because this star comes at this specific time, I'm starting my new year. Because the moon is in this position, I'm starting my month. That's not the instructions we were given. We were warned against that, matter of fact. We were told not to do that. And this is going to cause confusion. And these plagues and all these things are coming upon us because we are not following instructions. We are taking these servants that were placed in the sky, the host of heaven, and we are worshiping it by following those instructions instead of following the instructions of the Most High. And this is causing the error. So anybody who's watching this, don't expect that from this one watching of the video that this is going to be crystal clear. It took us several years and collective groups of Hebrews from different camps to figure this stuff out. We didn't just figure this out. We had other brothers from other groups and assemblies and other law-abiding citizens of the kingdom come together, and we had to go back and forth, and some of us still don't even understand it the same way. But we were able to look and map out and come to certain conclusions, and over time we were able to see this is how it's supposed to be done. This is what follows the instructions. This is what adds up. And every year we get better and better at it. So what I would suggest, go over this video. This is why it's on Facebook, why it's on YouTube, why it's going to be on Israelite Gathering, and go over this several times until you get a grasp. Get you a calendar. This was easy. We just did it like this easily. But the first couple of years we was erasing and scratching, doing this. Even this year, when I was calculating it, I made a simple one-day error, miscalculating, and messed up a couple months. One of the elder sisters from the congregation had to be like, whoa, Yadon, you made up. Shouldn't that be that? And I had to go back and count. Yeah, you're right. And I done it for years. So it takes a lot of diligence, patience, and prayer and teamwork to everybody understanding it, so that somebody makes a simple addition, subtraction error, you will cause the holy days to be off. So this is important. This is us showing that it is important for us to get aligned with the Most High and aligned with heaven, that when they're having joy in heaven, we having joy on earth. When they're coming before the Father for their appearances, we coming before the Father. We're keeping all these same feast days on the same day that Abraham was keeping it, that Yitzhak was keeping it, that Yaakov was keeping it, that Moshe was keeping it. And the only way we can do that is to align with heaven.
Mm-hmm. And brother, for anyone who wishes to do some study on their own, go into your book, go look where you see moon and month, and see that moon and month have different words. You have Kodesh for the month, and you have Yeriach for moon. And anytime you see Yeriach being used as a calendar date, like in the moon, in the Yeriach of such and such, you'll see that it's during some captivity. Mm-hmm. Whether in Ezra is a Babylonian captivity, Daniel's Babylonian captivity, some captivity of another nation, you stop seeing Kodesh being used to represent a month, and you start seeing moon being used. But you'll never see Kodesh being used as moon. The Kodesh doesn't double as moon in the scriptures. Only Yeriach, you get that ambiguity, whereas it's a mistranslation. Kodesh is month, And sometimes you see it translated in moon.
Right.
Kodesh is month.
Right.
Sometimes you see it translated in moon. Sometimes you see it translated as month. But it's supposed to be month in itself. And I just wanted to add another scripture from Enoch that talks about the moon falling short. And the moon, and you notice how Enoch broke everything down in structure. Everything has structure.
Right.
This is the first time I see the book of Enoch talk about something having some ambiguous meaning. And this is in talking about the
next
moon.
chapter, right.
In chapter 78, verse 9, talking about the moon, it says, in certain fixed month, the moon completes its cycle every 29 days, in certain others, every 28. Right. So right there, you're being given some weird back and forth, and now you can't use that as to calculate your days. And being 29 days or 28 days, you see that you do that for 12 months, you're going to get less than a whole year. Right. And you do that several years, you're going to be all off. You're just making up your own days. So it's good to just, stick to the scriptures. Look to the ones that they may have taken out. The Sefer writings is still in the Sefer. Enoch and Jubilees are still in the Sefer. Help you get all this together. The Biblios alone does not have your calendar. You're given a bib, but you don't have the instruction of how do I find the bib.
So you got to depend on somebody to tell you that.
Exactly.
And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to have to depend on somebody else to tell us something, because how do I know I don't know what that person doing when they go home. So you need to learn these things, because furthermore, when we got to escape, we're not going to have the internet. We're not going to have necessarily your brother or your sister or Israelite gathering to tell you this stuff. You got to be able to calculate these things. And sometimes with Enoch's structure, no matter where you are, no matter what time of year it is, if you just wake up in a cave, you can come outside that cave and start calculating when that sun go up, when it go down, and calculating how much time, and figure out where you are in the month so that you can pick up where you are and keep the holy days. And to piggyback off the point you made about Kodesh and Yirach and Yeriach having absolutely nothing to do, even if you go into the Greek tell you that. When they say new moon, it's numenea. Nume or nuos or neos, meaning new. So mene should mean moon if it's new moon.
When you look
no.
It's not.
Mane or mane means month. It literally means new month. But then when you get into the word moon, when they give an actual usage of the moon, they use what? Seleniae or Selenius or whatever for moon, letting you know it has absolutely nothing to do with that. So furthermore, if you want to follow the instructions, get at least into the root words in the language that it was written in, and study that way so you can see. And when you get in these Sefer writings, run it up against Torah in the original language it was written in, and you won't find those contradictions. So again, that's all we're going to do today. If anybody has any questions or comments, inbox us, send us an email. We're at info@IsraelitesGathering.com, or you go on Facebook or send us a message, whatever. We'll be more than happy to break it down with you. If you see it differently, we'll be able to break it down, because at the end of the day, this is the time when we try to get this stuff together before we get into the new holy year. We like to go over these things. So any questions or comments before we close in prayer?
Allah Yah and Sila.
All right. Let's go ahead and end in a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple shall return. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for your mercy, Yahweh, for choosing individuals that are not worthy, Yahweh, to receive this word, to learn, to gain some understanding. And I say some understanding, Yahweh, for we know there's so much more we still don't understand. But you have pointed us in the right direction, Yahweh. You have called your children to come and seek near unto you, Yahweh, to put away these Babylonian ways, to turn away from the ways of the Gentiles, Yahweh, and come back to our ancient culture, Yahweh, so that we could worship you and serve you, Yahweh, according to your instructions, to the best of our ability, according to all our mind, hearts, and souls, Yahweh, and our spirit. We're thankful that you have chosen a group of individuals that are not worthy, Yahweh, to be merciful. For we understand that you will show mercy unto whom you will, and you won't show mercy unto whom you won't. And we are not deserving, but we're thankful, Yahweh. So we give our vessels, Yahweh. We give our time. We give our abilities, Yahweh, to further your cause, Yahweh, to help fulfill your prophecies, Yahweh, and to continue purging within ourselves and helping each other purge those things in us that offend you, Yah. So we ask that you continue being merciful unto us, Yahweh. Continue being patient with us, Yahweh, as we try to open our eyes and learn and receive of this light, Yahweh, not for our own glory, but for your glory, Yahweh, to glorify your name and your Son on this earth, Yahweh, in our deeds and our actions, our minds and our words, Yahweh. So once again, we thank you, Yahweh. We ask for you to please forgive us if we have made errors. And if we have made errors, please show us the error in our ways so that we can get back into accordance, Yahweh, of following and letting it be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray not only for us, but for all your children across the four corners of the earth, Yahweh, that also gather to show you this diligence and this obedience, Yahweh, on your Shabbat and all other days of the earth, Yahweh, according to your order. Yeah, all these things we ask and pray through Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen.